These characters march to the beat of their own drums. Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 movie teen rebels.
It is his fault he didn't lock the garage.
Ferris, what are you talking about?
Ooh.
For this list, we're looking at our favorite bad boys and girls from live-action films.
If you like what you're hearing, be sure to check out the full song at the link below.
Number 10, Tracy, Freeland, and Evie Zamora, 13. Catherine Hardwicke's film about female teenage rebellion was a critical darling when it was released, debuting at the Sundance Film Festival. It tells the story of Tracy, a high school freshman who just wants to be popular.
Mom, I'm not gonna wear them anymore, okay? I need new clothes.
How come?
Because I look stupid, hello?
Her quest for the approval of her peers leads her down a dark path when she befriends Evie, her school's cool bad girl.
Thanks. Keep out.
The two kick off their friendship with shoplifting and theft, but they only get in further over their heads with sex, drugs, and more serious crime.
How do you explain $860 in your purse? What do you expect me to say, Mom? We jacked it, okay?
Number 9, Wade Walker, Crybaby. A movie made in the 90s by John Waters but poking fun at classic films from the 50s, this Johnny Depp musical is a fun satirical romp.
You're a pretty little square. Want to hang out with us Drapes tonight?
Depp plays Wade Crybaby Walker, tough leader of the greaser gang the Drapes, who is only able to shed a single, endearing tear at a time. His life gets turned upside down when he falls for a square, Allison, and eventually ends up in jail.
We're gonna give you a haircut tomorrow, pretty boy. You ever hear of a whiffle?
In fact, it was an instance of art imitating life because Depp actually took the role with the intention of shedding his Hollywood heartthrob image for something more subversive.
Crybaby Walker, society has given you a second chance. You're rehabilitated now.
Number 8, Enid and Rebecca, Ghost World. Enid and Rebecca have just graduated high school in Ghost World and don't know what to do with themselves. This misanthropic cult classic, based on a graphic novel, created a perfect early aughts rebel aesthetic centered around these two teenage protagonists.
God, how can you stand all these assholes?
Some people are okay, but mostly I just feel like poisoning everybody.
While Enid and Becky's stories diverge and Becky ends up taking a slightly more conventional path, the two best friends still share the angst of trying to figure out what kind of people they really are.
You know what my number one fantasy used to be?
What?
I used to think about one day just not telling anyone and going off to some random place.
It's an interesting story about the expectations put on young women, and it resonates even 2 decades later.
I think only stupid people have good relationships.
That's the spirit.
Number 7, Riff and Tony, West Side Story. The legendary West Side Story takes the basic structure of Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet and brings it to the streets of New York in the 1950s. Central to the tale are Tony and his best friend Riff, both of whom are members of the gang The Jets.
Here come the Jets like a bat out of hell. Someone gets in our way, someone don't feel so well.
This story is a tragic one, with the inspiring music and sets intertwined with serious drama.
How many can I kill, Chino? How many? And still have one bullet left for me.
The themes of this story are timeless, and the topic of immigration is still a controversial one in this era, so it makes sense that Steven Spielberg is putting out a remake in 2020.
Who jumped Baby John this afternoon? Who jumped me the first day I moved here?
Who asked you to move here?
Who asked you?
Who where you want?
Back where you came from.
Spix, Mick.
What?
Number 6, Juno MacGuff, Juno. One of the more modern rebels on our list is Juno, from the 2007 movie of the same name. After finding herself pregnant at 16, Juno MacGuff decides to get an abortion, but then backs out, opting for adoption instead.
I need you to fill these out both sides and don't skip the hairy details. We need to know about every score and every sore.
She's a classic example of a girl who doesn't care what anyone thinks of her, reveling in her own quirks rather than conforming to the norm.
I was thinking I could have this baby and give it to someone that totally needs it, you know, like a woman with a bum ovary or a couple nice lesbos.
But then you're gonna get huge.
Even when the prospective adopters of her baby don't turn out to be the people she thought they were, Juno takes matters into her own hands to try to carve out a happy ending for everyone. Number 5, Jason Dean, Heathers. There are teen rebels, and then there's JD. Not satisfied with petty crime or looking cool, this guy is hellbent on murdering his fellow high school students and brings former good girl Veronica down with him.
Greetings and salutations. You a Heather?
No, I'm a Veronica.
In this satirical black comedy, JD arranges the deaths of the mean popular girls at Westerberg High School and makes them look like suicides.
Corn nuts!
Veronica goes along with it because even though she used to be a member of the Heathers, she realizes she actually misses her less cool friends. JD certainly isn't a character to idolize in any way, but that doesn't mean he isn't iconic.
You got power. Power I didn't think you had.
Number 4, Ferris Bueller, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. On the complete opposite end of the spectrum of rebellion, there's Ferris Bueller. He's the definition of a good-natured rebel, wanting to play sick and cut class to have an adventure.
You get better, Pumpkin.
Okay, Pumpkin.
I'll be home at 6 sharp. If you need anything, call.
This 80s John Hughes classic has gone down as one of the greatest teen movies of all time for a reason. Ferris is magnetic and inspires us all to play hooky every once in a while in the interest of having a good time.
And I'd like to dedicate it to a young man who doesn't think he's seen anything good today. Cameron Fry, this one's for you.
Many teen rebels are outcasts, but Ferris is actually popular and well-liked, making him stand out from his more disenfranchised peers.
Hi, how you doing? Ferris Bueller.
Number 3, Ariel Moore, Footloose. What's more rebellious than dancing when you're not supposed to? In the classic 80s movies Footloose, a high schooler moves to a town where dancing and rock and roll have been outlawed, leaving the teens wondering what to do with themselves.
So you really can't dance here, man? I can't believe that.
It's true. This isn't the only place either, you'd be surprised.
He finds himself infatuated with Ariel, the Reverend's daughter who does not want to abide by his rules. Ariel has a troubled past and an abusive boyfriend, not to mention her teetotaling father, so she's ready to kick off her Sunday shoes and act out. This may be some pretty tame rebellion, but we love it nonetheless.
Hey, what's this I see? I thought this was a party! Let's dance!
Number 2, John Bender, The Breakfast Club. The Breakfast Club is all about high school stereotypes and taking the time to look past them. But John Bender is there to exemplify the trope of the teen rebel.
Believe this? Huh? It's about the size of a cigar. Do I stutter?
He has a troubled home life where he is dealing with abuse and does all your typical bad boy things like smoking, drinking, and looking up girls' skirts. John's role is to bring out the inner rebel in all the other kids in Saturday morning detention. But since this movie is meant to break down preconceptions, it all shows that each character is so much more than their stereotype.
You see us as you want to see us. In the simplest terms, with the most convenient definitions. But what we found out is that each one of us is a brain.
Before we unveil our top pick, here are a few rebellious honorable mentions.
I had only 2 things on my mind. Paul Newman and a ride home. This is Ames, mister.
You're Rusty James. Biff Wilcox looking for you, Rusty James.
I'm not hiding.
He says he's gonna kill you, Rusty James.
Saying ain't doing.
We give praise to the saints.
Don't do that.
You see, there's nothing to do anymore. Everything decent's been done. All the great themes have been used up, turned into theme parks.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1, Jim Stark, Rebel Without a Cause. You could say this is the movie that invented teenage rebellion, so it should be no surprise that it's our number 1 pick.
Hey, which way, University in 10th? Which way is it to University in 10th?
It's that way! Played by James Dean, Jim Stark is new to his Los Angeles high school and quickly finds himself in trouble. He embodies basic teenage outrage at the world around him, representing so many teens through the ages.
Dad, you told me. You said you want me to tell the truth. Now, didn't you say that?
This film resonates with surprising relevance even today, though some of the elements are decidedly dated, like the knife fights, chickie runs, and use of terms like dirty tramp.
He called me.
He called me a dirty tramp.
But at its core, this is a movie meant to relate to all young people and the inevitable feelings of isolation they experience.
I know one thing. I'm not going back in that zoo.
I'm never going back.
Do you agree with our picks? Let us know in the comments. And hey, if you're a fan of the song playing right now, be sure to check out the music video for it right here.